Fireside Tales. Hello, I'm Merlin, Mililli. Welcome to my fireside, where I tell tales within tales within tales. And I almost always, so far, I always get weird. I can promise you that. And I drink coffee. So every week I tell the story of the Grateful Dead because I'm a deadhead and I drink coffee out of my skull mug because I'm a deadhead. And I tell the story as it should be told, from a deadhead by a fire, as it was told to me. I believe that the story of the Grateful Dead is a story of reincarnation. I can explain after I tell the story. But in season 1, in our very first episode, I discussed my connection with the Grateful Dead. And it's a reincarnation connection. And I don't usually go back there and revisit, but today would be Ron Pigpen McKernan's 77th birthday. And this will air the day after his birthday. So, happy birthday, Pigpen, and I guess I can just go ahead and tell you the day Pigpen died and the day I was born are the same exact day. I don't believe in coincidence, and I do believe in reincarnation, and seeing as how I have his memories and some of his trauma, I believe I was him in my last life. So I'm going to go ahead and tell the story of the Grateful Dead. And happy birthday, Pigpen. Though Pigpen is no more. His music, however, will live on. So in that, he's immortal. Sort of. Once there was a traveler. So long ago that she traveled by foot. So long ago that it was before man decided that woman was lesser and could not travel the world. So she traveled the world. And one day, the traveler happened upon a village. And in the village, there was some squabbling going on. The traveler didn't quite understand, so she got closer. Upon getting closer to the scene of the squabble, she discovered that these people in this village were squabbling over a dead body. They were arguing over who was going to pay his debts and who was going to bury him and who's going to pay for that. The traveler thought this was just gross. So she asked the townspeople to all stop arguing. And she said that she would pay the dead man's debts and she would pay for a proper burial. And she did. And she prayed over his body. And she traveled on. And then one day, decades later, the traveler happens upon a life or death situation. And out of nowhere comes this person that just scoops her up and saves her life. Traveler. Now, this is the same traveler from the beginning of the story. The traveler says, "Oh, thank you for saving my life. Who are you? Where did you come from? Why did you save my life?" And the life saver says, "I am the Grateful Dead." And that is the story that the Grateful Dead got their name from. It's in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And as I said, it was told to me from a deadhead by a fire. And here we are. So, I believe in reincarnation partially because of the memories that I have of my past lives, but also because I have access to those memories in quite intricate detail. When I was a teenager still, I was given a meditative key to a meditative library. And it's not a physical key, obviously. It was given to me in a meditation, and it's used to unlock a library called the Akashic Records, or the Akasha, which other people know about, not just me. I'm not the only one with a book in the Akashic Records. I happen to be one of the few that has a key. But everyone has a book, apparently, in the Akashic Records. And what the book has record of is your lives, who you've been, and when you've been. And my book is large and dusty and old. And with my key to the Akashic Records, I also have other gifts, spiritual gifts that use to share all this information with you every week. And I think this quality has carried over from lifetime to lifetime. And I've been a medium and a psychic, I believe, for multiple lifetimes. Probably everyone, even though I don't know that I understood it or knew in every life, but I think I had the gift. So, I do want to discuss some fire safety. I keep a kettle with water in it on the fire. I have access to my sprayer from my sink for the fire. I also have a cauldron full of water by the fire. You can put out a fire with a bucket of sand, but you should have a bucket of water. Also, even if you're way out in the middle of the woods and you don't have much access to water, keep a bucket of water by your fire in case it gets out of hand. Or if you need to put it out, which you should never leave a fire unattended, or a candle, or anything like that. If you do, make sure it can close and it has, it's enclosed and nothing can fall out of it like a log or anything. I discussed last week smudging. I've discussed it in other episodes. Today I want to discuss grounding, which is also a spiritual sort of process. Smudging clears your aura and your air. This is sage, burning sage, and all smudging is burning sage and letting the smoke cleanse your aura. You can use this. You want to make sure to put out any sparks. Leave around. Don't catch yourself on fire. It can be dangerous. But it really cleanses your aura and keeps everything positive. And I ground to keep things positive as well. And I like to take my shoes off, so I'm going to go ahead and take my shoes off, and I'm going to ground. Now, what I do is it's a breathing exercise. So you want to breathe out all the negative that you have, all your negative thoughts and feelings. You want to breathe those all out. And then you want to breathe in positive thought and happy feelings. Think of a really happy thought and turn your exhale into exhaling positive energy instead of the negative. So you're inhaling and exhaling positive energy. I ground before I do readings, before I do meditations. It's super important to get the most positive results out of your reading or your meditation. Sometimes I ground when I just feel like there's negative energy in the air. My new album, which came out September 1st, go figure, I'm a musician in this life too. My new album that came out, it's called Enchanted. It's all my chants. Most of those songs on my new album, it's called Enchanting, excuse me. And it's all my chants. And most of those songs are designed specifically to send away negative energy. So it's The songs are designed to ground you. So have a listen. It's free on YouTube. Merlin Mililli, that's Mililli on YouTube. Like I said, my Merlin Mililli channel. And chanting. And it's all my chants. If you're familiar with any of those, then you're in for a treat. So, in season 1, I discussed each of my past lives in my book in the Akashic Records. I started with Pigpen, and then I went back to my very first life in my book, and then I worked my way forward. And that's what I'm doing now. And I'm doing a season for each life. And I've gone back and started with my very first life. And that is a young ancient Peruvian girl named Little Flower. So, we were discussing Little Flower last week, and we discussed her parents a little bit, and we discussed her birth. Today we're going to discuss her mom. Her mother I said last week that I was going to do a meditation and find out what her name was. It's hard to pronounce, but her name was the word in her language for singing. So it'd be comparable to, say, carol or caroling or chant or chanting. So Little Flower's mom, I told you last week, was a shaman, and so was her dad, and they were both very high up in their tribe. And Eagle, her father, was the chief, but her mother had just as many rights. Men hadn't stepped in to knock women down yet. This was about 10,000 years ago. And there's some weird stuff in my book in regard to time. There's this life in particular is strangely long. According to my book, I lived to be about 1,000 years old, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. But all of these lives at the beginning of my book are that length until you get to this place where, well, at the beginning of the book, everything's like dry and light and dusty. And then there's this place which I think marks the Great Flood. It seems to mark when we changed from BC to AD, which is kind of weird. But it's right there, and everything, like I said before, is dry and light and sandy, and everything after it is dark and wet and muddy. I think it marks the Great Flood. I think the BC-AD thing, more than marking Christ, was marking the Great Flood also. It's just my theory. But it's strange that after the Great Flood, or after this watermark in my book, my lives get shorter. Significantly. And there is a king's list that also says this. The kings apparently on this stone lived thousands of years, and people just think it's like a typo, or maybe they didn't understand years, and they understood years, and I think they just lived longer before the flood. And that's just how it was. So I've heard these weird rumors on all these ancient alien shows and stuff about ancient Mayans being blue and shaping their heads purposefully weird, like torturing the children by hammering things into their heads and stuff. Like, I don't know where these rumors came from, but I have not found any of them to be anything like true. So that's just not a thing. I don't think they were blue, and I don't think they pounded things into children's heads. I think that perhaps, well, I know that my father fire's going out. I know that my father was called Eagle the Lucky because he was mining some of the world's first turquoise. This was 10,000 years ago. Pardon me. Just take this card. So, I didn't want to build too big of a fire because, well, it's fire season here in California, and no matter where you are, there's probably a fire nearby. So, I don't really need a fire to be fireside, but it is Fireside Tales, though it's supposed to be in the 90s today, and I really don't need a fire. But for you, there in TV land, I've made a fire, and it's not saying lit. I tried to make it small, really, really small. It's small. Anyhow, so I haven't found any of those horrible rumors to be true, and I think it's like the head thing. I think it came from that we wore a lot of turquoise. We made hats and headdresses and I don't want to do that all day. But we made necklaces and crowns and bracelets and tables and chairs and cups and hair combs and calendars. Those turquoise Mayan calendars, according to my book, my mother and I made those. I can read them. I can't really explain how, but somehow I can read them. And they were not predicting the end of the world in 2012. Sorry, doom and gloomers. But these calendars are based on all things celestial. The stars. Most importantly, the great year, which a lot of people still to this day don't really understand. And the great year it's a celestial event that's always happening. And it's the orbit that our galaxy takes through the solar system. through the multiverse, or I'm not really, through space. And the Mayan calendar was just marking the age that they were in at the time. And it marked that this would be the end of a cycle. And I believe we're headed into a golden age. And maybe 2012 might have been the beginning of that golden age, but really I think it really starts in, according to these calendars, 2112. I don't think it was 2012 at all, and people always forget that first 100 years and to count it, and I don't know why. But the Mayans counted the first 100 years, and I think it's 2112 that they think marks the end of an age, which it's the end of a dark age, and we're coming into a golden age. So that's a good thing to end a dark age. It's not a bad thing. And I don't know, we're already in a more light age. We just have a lot more light in the universe, in the solar system, in our orbit. I believe that the great year, the planets are all going in a figure 8. And there's a small loop and a big loop. And I think we just passed through the intersection from the little loop to the big loop, and now we're in the big loop, which is going to bring us a golden age and a lot more light. So therefore we can see better, not only just with our eyes, but with our third eye. So more and more people are waking up. More and more people are understanding when someone's lying to them. More and more people can't be hoodwinked anymore. Like, have you noticed that, like 10 years ago, people could lie to you and you wouldn't really know or worry about it. You'd assume they were telling the truth because that was what was assumed of people. But now, it's not that way. A lot of people are skeptical and think everybody's lying to them. But when somebody is lying to you, nowadays everyone seems to know. I'm not really sure how that happens, but I think it has a huge bit to do with this more light and golden age. So the Egyptians built the pyramids during a golden age. And before that, I believe Stonehenge was built in the golden age before that. I guess we have a golden age supposedly every, like, I think it's 14,000 years or something. I'm not sure how long it runs. It comes up, though, and changes every 7,000 some odd years. So think it lasts for several thousand years as well. Depending on, I don't know, I think it might depend on the orbit. Because if you're in a bigger orbit, isn't it going to take you a lot longer to go around than if you're in a little orbit? I would think. Anyway, so we're spinning. Our planet is spinning. Our planet is spinning around the sun, and then our solar system is spinning around the sun, and then our galaxy is spinning around something else. No one's really sure exactly what we're spinning around. I think it's a bigger sun because it seems to provide a lot more light. So every week here at Fireside Tales, I also have been singing Deja Vu by David Crosby. So I'm going to do that. So I just wanted to add that we have great potential coming into a golden age as we are. And do you think any of this BS will matter in 10,000 years? It won't. The lies won't matter. They'll fall away. The truth is what will remain. Pyramids, pretty true. They're still there. They are the truth. We haven't figured out even what they mean because we've been in a dark age. So, put this out. Making sure fire safety. Put my amp on and sing for you. Deja Vu. If I had ever been here before, I would probably know just what to do. Don't you? If I had ever been here before, another time around the wheel, I would probably know just how to deal with all of you. And I feel, before. Feel like I've been here before, and it makes me wonder what's going on. Under the ground. Do you know? Don't you wonder? What's going on down under you? La da da, la da da, la da da da. La da da da. La da. We have all been here before. 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 So I think that song is about reincarnation. I'm not so sure about the phenomenon deja vu. I think most of that comes from our dreams. But like those little snippets, those little moments that you've seen happen before in that sequence exactly with that lighting and that everything, right? But the reincarnation deja vu does occur, like when you go somewhere where you've never been, but what was around the corner 100 years ago. And sometimes it's still there, though it looks a little different, but you've been there before. That feeling. We have all been here before. That, I believe, is a reincarnation thing. But I didn't discuss the spirits theory. I'm privy to spirit theory because I'm a medium and I talk to spirits, and they seem to think that people who are reincarnated are also people who were murdered. haven't been able to disprove this theory. So I'm not really certain if it's true, but I don't see why the spirits would collectively lie about something like that. That seems strange. So I think it's probably on the money. So next week we'll discuss a little more about Little Flower. I'll tell you the story of the Grateful Dead, and we'll discuss the Akashic Records again. And I'll sing Deja Vu again to you. So happy birthday, Pigpen. And thanks for watching. I told you we were going to get weird. We did. Have a weird and wonderful weekend. A Mililli Studios production.